Welcome to Dear Book Coach. I'm Stephanie Detlefs, writer and certified book coach.
I'm Terri Thayer, certified book coach, certified focusing professional, and writer.
And I'm Kerry Savage, writer, certified book coach, and project manager.
I almost jumped right in on you, Kerry. This is a friendly advice space for you as you plan, draft, and revise your novel. In each episode, we answer one question from a writer like you with our 3 different points of view, and you get to pick the advice that resonates for you. So today's question comes from Sarah. I've started a story, but I'm feeling pretty insecure. I haven't experienced either the kind of relationship that's portrayed or been to some of the places. Should I make it closer to my own experiences? I keep asking who I think I am to write this story. It's a good question. Terri, what do you think?
Yeah, that who do you think you are question. That's a big one. So what I would like to do is give us a little focusing exercise to kind of tune into that part that's a little insecure about this and see what they have to say. So yeah, just you guys are doing it. Just make yourself into your body, noticing where you are in your room, any noises, smells, wind blowing, hopefully not in your room, but sometimes. Just allowing your attention to come down to your feet. Noticing the support that's always there. The support of the earth. It's got this little tug of gravity. It wants to keep you close. And the earth beneath you is a support that's always there. Let yourself sink into that. Sink a little deeper into your chair. Perhaps bringing to mind an event, a person, an image that brings you some joy, some peace, letting that image be there. As you turn your attention inward into this area, beneath your throat, chest, stomach, and belly, there's so much information. So we're going to tap in there. And we're going to call out the part of you that is feeling insecure, that thinks, who do I think I am? See if it will show itself, even just a little bit. You are just the presence big enough for it to be exactly how it is, whatever it needs to be. If you can tap into that part, you can greet it, say hello to it, welcome it. Let it know that you are there for it. You are grounded, you have support, you have space in your body, letting this part know it can take up all the space that it needs. Try to intuit how this insecure part would like you to be with it. Does it want you to get close or stay away? Can you imagine sitting next to it, holding its hand, or perhaps putting a gentle arm around it? But you're letting it dictate what it would feel good to it. Not pressuring it, just allowing it to be as it is, bringing your resourced self to it. If you have a sense of it, the sense of this insecure part, perhaps it could give you an image, show you an image, or a feeling, what it's worried about, what it's afraid might happen if you did write this book. Just allowing that to take shape any way that it wants to. It's good to do this exercise for longer than we're going to do it right now, but perhaps, asking for an image or a thought or an idea to bring out now with you, perhaps take some notes and letting this part know you can return to it as often as it needs you to. Just letting this part know that you are there for it. You can hold it, cradle it, whatever it needs in its insecurities. So for now, we're just going to let it go. Coming back into the space, letting it know it can return anytime. Yeah, bring your awareness back into the room. We all have these scaredy parts, maybe more than one, maybe more than two, but just turning to them sometimes is enough to kind of ease their fears. So that's it.
Ooh. Well, that was very interesting for me. I could not hold its hand or put my arm around it. I was revolting against that pretty hard. So I think I will come back to this and try to sit with it a little bit longer and see what happens. But boy, I think probably that came up because this question resonates with me a lot. I think a lot of writers feel this way at some point or another. And sometimes I know personally right now, I'm experiencing it around other things and not just around my book. So it's a really tough question, but I think we can all empathize with you and understand where you're coming from. So I'm going to get a little into brass tacks here, which feels a little strange because I'm like shoving that person away from me right now also. But I personally believe that you don't have to have experienced what you're writing about in order to write about it. I think it's how we experience the world through other people's eyes and develop empathy. And that's why I love reading so much, because that's what reading allows me to do, is to go places and be people that I would obviously never get a chance to be. So that's the magic of it. And I think limiting that in any way can be really frightening in some existential ways that I also don't want to think too much about. However, that being said, I understand that there continues to be a lack of representation within the publishing industry and in the stories that make it into the world and who gets to tell them. And that often, even when stories are told, it can be more privileged voices that are accepted to tell them rather than, like a person whose experience that actually represents. And that is definitely still a problem. And, there's a long way to go in making sure that representation is there and is far more equitable than it is now. But ultimately dialing that back down to your specific instance, what I would encourage you to do is to write the story that you feel like you need to tell. There's a reason that this story is stuck with you, that you believe in it. And if there are things that you don't know about, educate yourself. You all viewers out there, if you've watched Dear Book Coach for a while, you know that I'm a huge fan of research because I did a ton of it for my own book. I'm just sort of a research nerd that way. I hadn't been to most of the places in my novel, and I certainly was not alive when it takes place in 17 something or other. So if you're writing from a POV that's not your own, talk to people for whom that POV is true. Make sure you respect their time and, pay them if you can, or at the very least, take them out for coffee. Hire sensitivity readers who do represent POVs in your book that are not your own, if that feels like the right route to go to. And if you are coming from a place of genuine empathy and curiosity, you will most likely be fine. There are people who do write from other experiences. I mean, we all do to a certain extent if we're writing fiction. And when you do it in the right spirit, I think that comes across. And don't worry about it. Write the book that you need to write and just be smart about it. So there, I'm getting off my soapbox now and handing it off to Stephanie.
Yeah, that focusing exercise was interesting for me too, because when you said, Terri, to let it take up all the space it needs, it took up my whole body. And I was asking a question that was unrelated to writing, because although I have asked this question, who am I to write this book, many a time, I am not currently asking it. And so I just asked about something unrelated, but that thing, it took up my whole body. And then it moved over next to me, and I wasn't allowed to touch it either, but I could sit next to it. So yeah, it was just interesting. So yeah, takes up the whole, I mean, it like we compact that little feeling of worry into a little knot in our stomach, and then we wonder why we can't sleep at night. Anyway, so kind of springing off of that, this voice that's asking this question, who am I to write this book, is based in fear. We've talked about this before on this podcast, this video series. It comes from the same place as any kind of self-doubt or insecurity, or, if you're critical of your ability to write, you're not sure that you're a good enough writer, you're judging the words that are coming out. All of that is coming from the same place, and it's fear. And it's totally, totally normal. It's part of the human experience. So, that non-evolved part of our brain thinks that we're putting ourselves in danger when we're writing a story. And it's because it feels risky, and it is, it's risky because it's vulnerable, but it's not the same as being like chased by a tiger, right? So, but our brain doesn't know the difference, and that's why we have that reaction. And so just knowing that, I think, alleviates some of the pressure, like, oh, this is just my brain doing what my brain does. I don't have to listen to it. And I think I've talked before in another video about Elizabeth Gilbert's book, Big Magic, in that it's a book about creativity in the writing life. And in that book, she uses the analogy of herself driving the car. Creativity is in the passenger seat and fear is in the back seat. Like, fear is going to come along. You can't avoid it. It just is going to come along for a ride. So let it come, let it just be there, but don't let it steer, don't let it give directions, and don't let it touch the radio, is her message. So, and I really like that. And I go back to that image a lot because it works for me. But if you can find a way to let that question come along and not make it mean that you shouldn't be writing what you're writing. The suggestions that Kerri made are great ones for ensuring that you're not actually telling a story that isn't yours to tell, like getting a sensitivity reader, making sure that you're, being sensitive to the narrative that you're telling and whose narrative that actually is. But if you're just afraid of making up a relationship or making up locations, do the research and then try to just let that fear go while you're writing your first draft, especially. Let that fear, which looks like, who am I to write this book? Let it come along, but make it right in the back seat. So that's what I have to say about it.
Well, that reminds me, and I don't remember what self-help book I was reading years ago, but it talked about how fear and excitement feel the same in our bodies. Mm-hmm. Like, we often attribute it to fear, but it might just be the excitement. And then I learned in Cog Psych that when we learn something new, the brain throws everything at it. So we do have that agitated kind of feeling, but it's just the brain settling in, and then it'll settle those neural pathways and it'll start to feel normal to write too. So all of that is in play here. This is a really in-depth question. So thank you for that. That's it for today. We hope you found an answer that made sense to you at this point in your life, at this point in your book. Remember, you can submit your question anytime at dearbookcoach.com and subscribe to our weekly email. Each month, we randomly choose a subscriber who wins a call with a coach of their choice. We'll see you next time.